بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها النبي إذا طلقتم النساء فطلقوهن لعدتهن وأحصوا العدة واتقوا الله ربكم لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن ولا يخرجن إلا أن يأتين بفاحشة مبينة وتلك حدود الله ومن يتعد حدود الله فقد ظلم نفسه لا تدري لعل الله يحدث بعد ذلك أمرا فإذا بلغن أجلهن فأمسكوهن بمعروف أو فارقوهن بمعروف وأشهدوا ذوي عدل منكم وأقيموا الشهادة لله ذلكم يوعظ به من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر ومن يتق الله يجعل له مخرجا ويرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه إن الله بالغ أمره قد جعل الله لكل شيء قدرا واللائي يئسن من المحيض من نسائكم إن ارتبتم فعدتهن 3 أشهر واللائي لم يحضن وأولاة الأحمال أجلهن أن يضعن حملهن ومن يتق الله يجعل له من أمره يسرا ذلك أمر الله أنزله إليكم ومن يتق الله يكفر عنه سيئاته ويعظم له أجرا أسكنوهن من حيث سكنتم من وجدكم ولا تضاروهن لتضيقوا عليهم وإن كن أولات حمل فأنفقوا عليهن حتى يضعن حملهن فإن أرضعن لكم فآتوهن أجورهن وأتمروا بينكم بمعروف وإن تعاسرتم فسترضع له أخرى لينفق ذو سعة من سعته ومن قدر عليه رزقه فلينفق مما آتاه الله لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا ما آتاها سيجعل الله بعد عسر يسرا وكأين من قرية عتت عن أمر ربها حاسبناها حسابا شديدا وعذبناها عذابا نكرا فذاقت وبال أمرها وكان عاقبة أمرها خسرا أعد الله لهم عذابا شديدا فاتقوا الله يا أولي الألباب الذين آمنوا قد أنزل الله إليكم ذكرا رسولا يتلو عليكم آيات الله مبينات ليخرج الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات من الظلمات إلى النور ومن يؤمن بالله ويعمل صالحا يدخله جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا قد أحسن الله له رزقا الله الذي خلق 7 سماوات ومن الأرض مثلهن يتنزل الأمر بينهن لتعلموا أن الله على كل شيء قدير وأن الله قد أحاط بكل شيء علما.
As the gender war rages on, in order to keep the peace, we must discuss the exact facts. Welcome to EXFACTLY. I'm your host, Saudi Ma'am. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Remove your shoes and enter upon your right foot, upon the right state of mind. Topic: Wifey became the ops. The importance of prenup polygyny chat. Prenup, short for prenuptial, means prior to marriage. Some recommend counseling, so on and so forth. When I say prenup, I'm not talking about a written article of concessions, but I'm talking about a discussion prior to marriage. Even if not written down, a discussion and agreement prior to marriage. Now, generally we say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and we feel like that is sufficient if the person we are marrying says the same. But nevertheless, often the details are what matters and not the generalization and standards. So, wifey became the ops, the importance of prenup polygyny chat. We spoke about people requesting that in the marriage contract, the aqd zawaj, that it is stated, I oppose you marrying a second wife, so on and so forth. So therefore, put it in the contract just for my peace of mind. Put it in the contract that this matter is not on the table. So a matter that Allah Ta'ala has made a choice for the man in premarital, prenuptial chat. It is stated that this is not something that I prefer. So please put it in the contract. And we've stated emphatically that a contract with Allah Ta'ala is more worthy to be paid and to be adhered to than a contract with a mere human being, a fellow human being. And that, to put that in a contract is in direct contradiction with the Wahy. The Wahy says this is minimal mubahat. This is from the permissible matters, marrying 2, 3, and 4 wives, and you are making a new contract after your contract of shahada. You're making a new contract that says what? This thing will become haram for me. Nevertheless, in the words of Sheikh Luther Vandross, Zojati had truly been good to me. Not even one sad day, or many have I had since she came my way. But I'll have you know, wifey went loco when I introduced her Coco. It's so amazing how she flopped. Overnight, wifey became the ops. Excuse my terrible singing, but that reminds me of a song with Luther Vandross, So Amazing, and I thought this topic would fit for the remix. Nevertheless, if, and excuse my allergies once again, nevertheless, if a marriage is in decline, there's a slim chance that adding a co-wife would repair what is broken. If that marriage is maksud, if it is broken, then there is slim to no chance that adding a co-wife would repair what is broken. Because marriage is an individual to individual social contract, not a group contract. Likewise, if a marriage is happy and healthy, it is more than likely that adding a co-wife could add or could deplete the happiness and healthiness of that initial relationship. So, if a marriage is not going so well, then co-wife wouldn't help it. Very low chance that a co-wife would alleviate that situation or make it better, or alleviate what's ailing that situation. And if it is happy and healthy, a co-wife more likely would make the existence of you and her more happy and healthy, but could produce a problem where there was no problem. But I contest that there was a problem all along. I would contest. I'll save that for later. Women complain. We were having a rough time. And instead of working on our situation, he added a whole new situation. We were having a rough time. And instead of correcting our situation, he added a whole new situation. So now things are quote unquote worse. And women will also say that I understand that it's his choice, but I choose not to live in that situation or condition. And the problem with that is it usually happens after the fact. After you are already married and under the Aqd Zawaj, the marital contract, usually The statement comes out, I choose not to live in this situation. Now, is the divorce valid to seek it for some matter that is min al mubahat, or from the permissible things? Is it lawful to seek it for that particular reason? Women complain that, again, that the marriage was in a bad situation. Instead of him working to alleviate that situation or make it better or repair it, or them working toward islah or reparations, he added a whole different situation. That is a complaint. Likewise, they say this marriage was very happy and healthy. Why would he add someone else on? See, a woman's happiness is not necessarily a measure of a man's happiness. They told us in the cliche, happy wife, happy life. Mm. Well, I differ with that. I differ. I say a happy husband equals a happy household. Because if that husband, who is the head of the household, is being contradicted, and the inhabitants of that home are being combative and apathetic and disobedient, then this takes away from his happiness. This takes away from his functionality. That means that the head of the household, the protector, the manager of the household, is not in a good state, maybe even some mild to mid depression. This will not allow the household to function properly, because this may lead to yelling, raising of voices. It may lead to some type of abuse. It may lead to uh, people miserable in the home. Why? Because the head of the house was sick. If you have a headache, it's hard to function. If you have a migraine, it's even harder to function. And this is what we are dealing with. We are dealing with this matter because the head is sick. So you expect the body to be okay when the head is sick. It doesn't work like that. Okay. Now, she said we were happy, healthy, and he added another wife, and he ruined our situation. Well, I guarantee you, if you were to peruse his Akazawaj with that second woman, it wouldn't even mention you. It would not have you in it. You would not be a factor in it. Just as in your initial marriage contract, being the first wife or what have you, there should not be any other woman mentioned in that contract, because that is not for you, or a matter that should affect you in that way. Nevertheless, after after the fact, you're already married. The wife says, I understand it's his choice, but I choose not to live in this situation. Now, I pray Allah there are no kids involved. And when I say kids, children, I'm talking about biological to him or stepchildren. I pray that none of those are involved, because it is hard on children uh, to witness or to be part and privy to a breakup and a separation from someone that was a father figure, the deep voice within the home. It is a trauma to the children. It is not natural for them to see a variation of that. But if the man is adding wives, that is perfectly fine. I know people that were raised in poly situations, and they love their stepmoms. They love their stepmoms. They feel it was the best thing in the world to have more than one mom. But it was only the mom that was at odds or saw it as a blow to her personal self-esteem, so on and so forth. But nevertheless, she she seeks a divorce because this is not what she signed up for. So yes, this prenup polygyny chat should necessarily be had, because a lot of times the brother don't know she's going to act that way. So if you throw everything out on the table in the beginning, look, I'm polygynous. Right now, I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the circumstance to get another wife. But if I ever reach that situation, I'm going to get another wife. How do you feel about that situation? Well, I choose not to. Okay, well, fine. If you ever change your mind, holla. And don't ever speak to her again. Don't ever speak to her again. If she wants you bad enough, she'll come back around. But that doesn't guarantee she won't cause you fitna later on based on the very same situation that you were upfront and honest about. There's a hadith of the Rasul Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and it paraphrase it. It says that if a woman seeks khula'a or divorce without a valid reason, she would not smell the fragrance of Al Jannah, even though the fragrance is far reaching. Even though its scent is far reaching, she won't smell it. Because to break up the family, like I said, if children are involved, even stepchildren, it's traumatizing. The tug of war. Children listening on conversations. You're having a conversation and you mention your ex. You have a conversation and you mention, she mentions the ex-husband, and it's not in flattering words. So what happens? There's a trauma there, being separated from the deep voice in the home. There's a trauma there. That balance is thrown off. She becomes, as they coin it, I'm the mother and the father. She becomes like that, which you can never be a father, just as a man can never be a mother. But nevertheless, these are the phrases that are termed that are used because why? The situation. So wifey becomes the ops over something halal, over something halal. And we'll talk about the finances, because that's usually where a lot of valid points are made. Then again, there are some invalid points that are made based on finances. So she seek divorce without a valid reason. Muhammad says she would not smell the fragrance of Jannah, even though its fragrance is far-reaching. So this should be a warning for those that just willy-nilly throw around divorce. Those who choose to stick around may become the ops. Even if they don't leave. Listen, I'm not saying if you don't stick around, then you become the ops. I'm saying those who stick around may become the ops for a point in purpose. When Abdullah ibn Ubay al-Salul, when he was going to be the governor of Medina, right at that particular time, he was about to become the governor, and Muhammad sallallahu was given bay'ah, the allegiance to rule by Islam over Medina, to become the first Khilafah state. He didn't just become angry, but he became angry, joined the ranks of the Muslims in order to destroy our movement, our new fledgling, new movement from within. He became a munafiq. Rather than just leave us alone and go to Quraysh or go somewhere else with his own kind. But he chose to pretend to be Muslim and be a munafiq in order to undermine and make espionage or spy from within, and commit treachery from within. So nevertheless, some may stick around to become the ops. Now, the old statement is, and it's very true, that you can live comfortably with a million enemies outside of your home, but you cannot live comfortably with one enemy inside of your home. Not one enemy inside of your home. The enemy outside, unbothered. The enemy inside becomes an issue. It becomes an issue. So she becomes the ops inside the home, and she chooses to stick around. Maybe financially she's not there where she can just up and leave. Maybe she's trying to gather sadaqah and donations and all these different things so she can up and leave in the middle of the night and take your children from you because of this situation if you have children. These are situations, real situations. Like I say, those who choose to stick around, they stick around and they become the ops from within. So now you got an enemy within your home. So what she's doing, she's withholding sex, she's withholding sex, which is not her right to do so. If you're providing and protecting, then it's not her right to withhold sex. She is slacking in her household duties, Despite what any third wave simp sheikh says, it is your responsibility to obey your husband, even if you don't believe in the hadith. Where Muhammad's wives were cooking food and cleaning the home, and Fatima anha had blisters on her hand. The daughter of Rasul Muhammad had blisters on her hand and was denied a maid, but was told to make dhikr instead, besides begging for a maid. She had chores. Yes, Muhammad would mend his own clothes sometimes, mend his shoes, but he did not clean the house. They said he was busy taking care of his home. And whether you know it or not, Muhammad spent more time outside of his home than in his home. Just read the hadith. Stop listening to lectures and talks and statements that are fitting your desires or what you like to hear. Listen to what was stated by the Rasul Muhammad of him. He was busy taking care of his household, his family. He spent more time outside of the household. And taking care of your house means repairing, yes, all, but it doesn't mean common sweeping and mopping and whatever else you would do in a home and washing dishes. And it clearly says that the wives of the Rasul Muhammad were cooking and taking care of the house. Clearly. And Muhammad said, if your husband calls you to the bed, you ought to answer him, even if you're in the kitchen cooking bread. Now, how does a woman go in the kitchen and cook bread if that's not her duty? Muhammad to say, even if you're watching the maid cook. You know, again, these are statements of fatwas of privilege. These people, a fatwa comes out of Kuwait that a woman don't have to clean the household. And it's better to get a maid because these people live with slave labor maids. Sometimes they work them, don't even give them money to send back home to their family. They're rightfully earned pay that you're supposed to pay before the sweat dry. They don't do so. So they become our standard for as fatwa? No, this is erroneous. It's not even a fatwa based on reality. But we like it, so we take it, we run with it, but it's really hurting more than helping. So she starts slacking in her household duties, which are her duties. She starts spying. She starts going through the phone. She starts eavesdropping on conversations. She starts asking questions, where she shouldn't be doing so. Her miserableness becomes tied to something halal. So something halal produces misery within her. It's something halal that she opposes of the deen. Listen to that. She's opposing something halal of the deen. Not something outside of the deen, but of the deen. She is opposing something that is actually halal. SubhanAllah. The husband's righteousness or level of righteousness or thought to be righteousness becomes tied to her happiness instead of being tied to the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they'll start to quote some specific ahadith that the best among you is he who is kindest to his wife and children. Now, does kindness means that you acquiesce? Does kindness mean that you are pliable and malleable? Does kindness mean that you bend to her side on every issue that she likes or dislikes? No, that's not kindness. Kindness means you fulfill your duties to your wife and children. You fulfill your duties. No matter how minimal, you fulfill your duties. If your boss tells you this is an 8-hour day, and as soon as it hits the 8 hour, you clock out. He said, oh, you're leaving? Oh, I did my 8 hours. That's your attitude. You'll say, I did my 8 hours. If you want overtime, then I'll do overtime. But my 8 hours is done. Okay? Because overtime is time and a half, basically. So are you willing to pay time and a half? If you're not, then I'm outie because this is my 8 hours. Okay? So when you fulfill the duties of a wife, you don't have to be extravagant and go overboard with gifts and things beyond her bare necessities. If you do so, then you are better than better. But if you don't do so, you're fulfilling what Allah Ta'ala commands you. So therefore, there's no sin upon you. There's only blessings to be had. Nevertheless, the husband's righteousness starts to be tied or juxtaposed to her happiness. It starts to be tied to her happiness instead of the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala. So certain hadith are quoted, like I said, the best among you is he who is kindest to his wife and children. And this is a good hadith But the issue is, what does it mean, kind to his wife and children? You know, you're not bakhil, you're not a miser, you're not harsh, you're not this, you're not that. Um, you're kind to your wife and children. But yet that may not necessarily please her. Okay? It might not necessarily please her. She might become the ops within your home. Not seeking divorce or calling for divorce. Yeah, it's your right, it's your right. But I'm gonna start pulling back some of your rights. Like, huh? Like, okay, it's my right. You mad about it, so you gonna start neglecting some of your duties and neglecting and denying me my rights because you oppose something that is halal. See, this is when we get into a lot of problems. Now the situation just gets worse and worse and worse. Financially, some valid points are made financially, especially when it comes to seeking a second wife, third wife, so on and so forth. A woman might say, "You're barely taking care of us. You're barely taking care of this household. You're gonna get a whole nother household." We'll talk about that. But nevertheless, right now, I'll say that is he, you saying barely, but is he meeting the standard? If you say yes, then you have no right on saying that he shouldn't be allowed, that he's contradicting the sunnah by taking on a second wife. Why you don't have the right to do so? Because your needs are met. Your contract with him has nothing to do with her. You won't be mentioned in that contract, and neither was she mentioned in your contract. So this is what we are dealing with. This is what we're dealing with. He's barely taking care of us. How can he afford? Well, that's not for you to decide. I remember one of my last situations. I have two bank cards. I gave one to her for maintenance and stuff like that, and I kept one to myself. Next thing you know, another sister's telling me, "Man, your wife said you only got $200 in this account." Well, I ain't finna put all my money in that one account. Are you crazy? Are you out of your bat mind? I'm not putting all my money. This is an expense account for her to use. I'm not putting all my money in that account. I don't know this woman that well for her to skip town with my money. And neither is it required for me to reveal and disclose my finances like she's part of the IRS or something. So not only she was talking my personal business outside of the home, which is grounds for divorce, a sister came to me with it. She said, "You only got 200 something in your account." Yeah, in that account, yes. What's the problem with that? You know, did Muhammad Sallam had $200, in his account? Aisha reported didn't have a oil to light a lamp many nights in that house. He came in and asked, is there any food to eat? Aisha Radhanha said no. He said, then I'm fasting. So that's what we're talking about. So why would you complain about what's in their account? I don't trust you. I don't trust you over $200. And who gonna put $200 worth of gas in their car? You know, that's what the account was mainly for: gas and essentials. So again, this is the issue. So you may not know your husband's financial situation, nor does he has any duty to any right, any obligation to disclose it to you. It's not your business. If he does, he's simping. He's clearly simping if he discloses his financial situation to you. If your needs are being met, mind your business. Mind your business. Shared finances and shared accounts are hella beta and simpish. You should not be doing so. You know why? Because a woman has a right to her own property. She has a right to her own property. And she doesn't have any right to your money after her necessities are met. They say that your money is her money is her money, and your money is her money. Her money. That's a lie. That's an outright lie. The truth is her money, and your money is your money, with an obligation to fulfill her basic necessities. And she has no right to go above it. You have no obligation to go above and beyond that, and she has no right to receive beyond that. But you can, as a sadaqah, a free gift, offer more than the bare necessities. Offer more than the bare necessities. So shared finances, if your woman is helping you pay bills, then you're kind of stuck. You're kind of stuck. But if uh, if you're taking care of the bare necessities and she's not help paying the bills, then you're still within your rights to marry a co-wife. And if she becomes the ops, then the angels will curse her. There are also situational qualifications. If you marry a woman who only wants companionship and protection, and she says, I have my own money, it is not haram to marry her. Remember, Khadija radiallahu anha financed the dawah until she was boycotted and lost her business for supporting the dawah. She financed the dawah because after Muhammad received the wahi, he didn't work a 9 to 5 anymore. He wasn't a shepherd. He wasn't a salesman. He didn't run the caravan. And so on and so forth. He wasn't a tradesman after receiving the wahi. So Khadija anha funded the dawah. So if you find a woman that is of means, affluence, financially, and she says, I just want the protection and the companionship, and you don't have to pay my bills. I understand you have a family to take care of, and you don't have necessarily the finances to pay for my big home, my house taxes, even, which sometimes one couple I knew, they were paying $25,000 a year in taxes. Subhanallah, subhanallah, taxes. That's rent at a luxury apartment for a lot of us, but they were doing that just in taxes. Astaghfirullah. Nevertheless, situational qualifications are and do exist, but it's not your business if he qualifies or not. If your rights are not being fulfilled, then you can have some say. Hey, wait a minute, you're doing a whole other situation, and my rights are not being fulfilled. But you can't say, wait a minute, you're doing a whole another situation, and you're not going above and beyond. Well, I don't have to go above and beyond. And here's a scenario. Here's a metaphor. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, brother Michael L. Smith II, and brother Matik McCall. So here's the situation. He says, babe, I'm gonna pull back on some of the finances. I'm gonna adjust some of the finances. We're not gonna go out every Friday after Jummah anymore and spend $50 on a meal anymore, because I'm about to get a new vehicle that I need for work or just whatever for family. Babe, I'm not gonna. I know I buy you 2 abayas every month. I'm gonna buy you one. I'm gonna buy you one a month because I need to pull back on certain finances. Babe, I know you're a shoe shopaholic and you want brand new shoes and so on and so forth, but I'm gonna pull back on that. And we're not gonna get any extravagant shoes. You're gonna wear the shoes that you have. Okay. So he has a right to adjust because those are things that are above and beyond what his basic necessities and rights fulfill for the woman, for the family. So he can pull back and say, because I'm going to get another car. But what if he goes to you and say, no more shoe shopping, no more shoe shopaholic shopping, no more 2 abayas a month, but I'm gonna start giving you one. Okay, no more this and no more that. Let's say he starts doing that because he wants another wife. Why wouldn't you divorce him because he wants another car? Okay, why wouldn't you divorce him because he wants a big screen TV or something like that? Because he's gonna pull back finances in order to finance something else. Why wouldn't you divorce him because of that? But no, you're gonna divorce him over another wife. That's why men should not share their finances with their wives. She should give him a budget. If she's shopping, give him a budget. Let him fulfill the budget. But they should not discuss finances with their wives. There shouldn't be no joint bank accounts, so on and so forth. And some sister almost cursed me out saying, you ain't got no evidence for that. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I have evidence for that. I have evidence for that. First of all, you provide evidence, that is your business. If you provide evidence, it's your business, then I have nothing more to say. But I know for a fact that only your basic necessities is binding upon him, and you have no right, just as Islam gave women right to own, Allah Ta'ala did not strip it from the men. Allah Ta'ala did not strip it from the men. You have no right to know how much. When Hind radiallahu anha complained to the Rasul Muhammad sallallahu, she said, Ya Rasulullah, my husband Abu Sufyan is bakhil. He is a miser. He doesn't give me enough to take care of me and my children. Can I take from his wealth enough to take care of me and my children? And Muhammad sallallahu said, yes, you can take from his wealth without him knowing, just enough to feed you and your children, but don't take more than that. Do not take more than that. This is what Rasulullah warned her. Don't take more than that. So what makes you think that you are, you might have access because, we take care. Like I say, the woman I gave a bank card to, she inshallah, I will save it. She told everybody I had $200 something in that account. I mean, I'm like, why are you telling people my business? And I got 2 accounts, by the way, and you would never have access to this other one because now I can't trust you. I really, really can't trust you. So again, this is what we are faced with. So wifey becomes the ops when things don't quite go her way, but actually, by the letter of the law of the Sharia, you're fulfilling her rights, you're handling your duties with the basic necessities. Now, a wife can get beyond and above that, but you have a right to pull back finances, not from basic necessity, but pull back finances. But if we look at the example of the Rasul Muhammad sallallahu, I mean, he did not live an extravagant life. He left no inheritance. He left no inheritance. And he did not accept sadaqah. He accepted gifts, not sadaqah. His family was not of those who begged. Okay? Although they didn't have all to light a lamp, but didn't have food at any particular time. So this is what we're dealing with. Over something halal, wifey becomes the ops. That's why prenup, prenuptial chat regarding polygyny. The importance of prenup polygyny chat is of very high importance. Look, I don't have another wife now. I don't see myself wanting another wife anytime soon. But by the order of Allah Ta'ala, I can change my mind tomorrow. Do you have any problem with the halal aspects of Islam? Do you have any problem with the halal aspects of Islam? And if she says, well, I got a problem with polygyny, say, okay, well, I'll holler at you. I'll holler at you. If you change your mind, let me know. But I'm not gonna be. I fast Ramadan. I pray my 5 salawat. I'm saving for Hajj, or I've already made Hajj. I pay my zakat yearly. Okay. I fulfill all of my obligations of Islam, and I deliver the dawah and speak the haqq over the batil. I do all of that. And you're going to deny me what my Lord has allowed or made permissible for me. See, this is not going to work. It's not your business what he makes. It's not your business what he does outside of the home. What if he brings me back a disease? Well, if he was that careful, he probably wouldn't have married you. But the point is that it's not an issue of, it's not an issue of bringing back a disease. Just as he got a STD check with you, he can get one with her. Well, sometimes they're not 100%. Well, yours wouldn't have been 100% then. All of your excuses don't fly. Well, it's messing up my pH balance. Why did you change your panties? Because changing your underwear messes up your pH balance also. You go from cotton to silk or silk to cotton, that can throw off your pH balance. Okay? Soap, your soap that you use, you might use a different soap, and that throws off your pH balance. So don't just blame a second wife on your pH balance. Allah Ta'ala is God, and He knows better. He knows better. He knows better. So the brother said a joint account is made only to provide necessities of the woman. That's the basics, taking care of her necessities. You don't have to make a joint account. She can pull from your account. You can, like I did, I got 2 different banks, 2 different cards. You can give her one of the cards to handle the business, and you can load the card up. If something else pops up, you can add money to the card. But you don't have to just give her carte blanche over your finances. Just because she's a woman don't mean she's financially responsible. Okay? You're still financially responsible. Yeah. They used that about pH balance. They used that and said, why should you know, you shouldn't get another wife because now my vagina has a fishy smell to it. You know, I said, well, did you change your soap? You know, did you change this? Did you change that? Because remember, these things were not complained about during the time of the Rasul Muhammad Sallallahu. You know, my vagina ain't my, you know, I don't have no problem with that. You know what I'm saying? But this is what happens. You know, they blame all that, but they bought them new panties too, and they changed their pH balance, but they blamed it on the second wife. You know, how do I know she clean? You know, well, we can't smell together, so she's a clean woman. You know, or so on and so forth. So anyway, the brother says she can have child restrictions on her uses. Yeah. That's women with knowledge, they'll tell you that your wife is like an older daughter for you. You know, without being weird. You know, your wife is like an older daughter because you have to care for them like you care for children. Muhammad Sallallahu called them prisoners. Muhammad Sallallahu said, wives are like prisoners under your care, therefore treat them kindly. They're like prisoners, okay? They're restricted from a lot of things. Today, they have too many rights, too much right to movement, so on and so forth. They have all of that, you know? And this is messing their head up because they are out of their spaces now. They want to lead Salat and do this and do that and open up gay masajid and stuff like that. These women are leading the cause. Really, men aren't really opening these gay masajid. It's the women that are opening these gay masajid. You know, women are opening these gay masajid, and this is the problem that we have. A masjid is not even a space for a woman. A woman is supposed to go to the masjid to learn. That's why Allah gives her more blessings in the closet, praying in the closet than she does at the masjid. But we get more blessings at the masjid than we do praying at home. Yet still Muhammad said, don't make your home like a qabr, like a graveyard. You know what I'm saying? Don't make your house like the maqbara, the graveyard. It means make salat in your house because we can't make salat in the graveyard. So anyway, this is what we're talking about. So yeah, it's just the same as child restrictions on the usage because you make up the budget and you put, let's say, if her budget in your home, okay, you have to pay the bills and pay this, pay that. So you know what all it is, add all that up, tell her to give you a list of what she needs. She gives you a list within your home, and she said chaos has cosign on desolation. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. I don't know exactly what you mean. Maybe the words are too big. Subhanallah for me. But nevertheless, this is the issue within itself. So it makes no sense over something halal that wifey becomes the ops. So she's withholding sex. She's talking with a sharp tongue. She's not she cooked the kids a plate. She won't make you a plate. Okay. She'll cook just enough. Well, all the food is gone. I only cooked enough for me and the kids because I didn't know what time you was getting home. That little jabby stuff. Now, what marriage is going to survive that? She don't want a divorce. She want to stay inside like Abdullah ibn Ubay. Okay. She want to stay inside like the leader of the hypocrites of Medina, stay inside the home and infiltrate from inside, espionage, from inside. Why don't you just ask for divorce if you're going to cause a divorce eventually anyway? But see, the nature of women is to compete with each other for the affections and for the favor of the husband. That's why Aisha Anha got so angry and slapped the plate out of the hand of the servant, a plate that was made by another wife. She became so angry because the guests were being served with this delicious plate of food. And Aisha Anha said, this is my home. She brought another plate of food in, so she slapped the plate out of the hand of the servant. And Muhammad just got down. He started picking it up. He said, please excuse my wife Aisha. She's angry. Please excuse my wife Aisha Anha. She's angry. And this is what we know, understand the emotion, but your emotions are not tied to Allah's happiness. I want you to know. And your emotions don't determine whether your husband is righteous or not. And your emotions don't determine whether your husband is best or not. A lot of that trauma you're going through is from them randoms that you ran through before you met your husband. A lot of that's facts. That's facts. A lot of the problems you're going through is because of the randoms you ran through before your husband. It is a well-known scientific study that women that have a high body count find it harder to fall deeply in love, find it harder to experience the affections that they would naturally experience, the height of erotica, they find it very hard to experience that, and they also find it hard to filter their mind or purge their mind, of the randoms. They find it hard to do so. Too much. They got too much experience, too much baggage. I heard brothers in Saudi and other places marrying women, converts. They married women that were, raised Muslim, so on and so forth. And guess what they did? They had the first night, the wedding night with her, slept with her, and then guess what happened? They had the first night with her, they slept with her, and the brother divorced her right after. You know what the brother said? This is several, there's not one brother, several instances. The brother said, she was too good in bed. I have no idea where she got that from. See, this is part of, men, we're wired like that. Men are wired to detest imagining our wives because of Rita and stuff like that with some other men, even if it's before us. So marrying women with a high body count is very dangerous. These women should, second, third wives, fourth wives, is fine, but to come in as the first wife and they got a high body count, it's going to be hard for you to make that, especially if these brothers are virgin. A lot of these brothers were virgin and married women that already had experience of high body counts, and they divorced her saying she was too good. She was too good on the first night. I don't know where she got that from. I'm just saying it happens. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, and different. I'm saying it happens. It happens. It happens. So again, with the feedback, it says you have to get a woman who obey. Exactly, Matik, brother Matik. You have to get a woman that actually she submits as in Islam. She submits as in Islam. So what happens is that it's not hard to direct her. It's not hard to direct her for her to seek your happiness in order to please Allah Ta'ala. Because her happiness is not tied to Allah Ta'ala's happiness if you are fulfilling your rights to her. The brother Michael L. Smith II said, who follows instructions? Alhamdulillah. Sister Abdullah Sumaya says this is why they accept cheating over polygamy. It's toxic thinking. And it is the same thing. Like there were alhamdulillah, there were different ulama. I don't know if Ibn Taymiyyah falls in this category, right? La'an, rahmatullah alayhi, excuse me, Imam Bukhari. There were some ulama that never married. They never married. And brothers was like, oh, they never married. That's strange, and so on and so forth. Okay. You ever heard of the Malikat Aman? These women had, these brothers had concubines. These Salaf, they had concubines. They never went into an official marriage contract because they had women servants that were traveling with them, collecting ahadith and so on and so forth. They had women servants. You read about almost 100 wives that Hassan Rala'an had, the grandson of the Rasul Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You read about the many wives he had, despite Ibn Kathir don't know the exact number, but he said there were many. Okay, there were many. Kathir. Nevertheless, you read about that, but they don't even count the concubines. They don't count the Malikat Aman. So there were no celibate. These ulama were not celibate. They were just too busy to have a wife and family at home. They traveled a lot. Nevertheless, so yeah, they choose cheating over polygyny. Why? Why? Because they told me, and I've heard several women say this, the Malikat Aman or the girlfriend less than girlfriend Malikat girlfriend is less than Malikat Aman. Girlfriend is haram, Malikat Aman or not. Concubines are not. But we're not in a war situation where those things are actually prevalent or exist. But nevertheless, although we are at war, okay. Nevertheless, they say because the woman has no legitimacy. The woman has no legitimacy. And that's why they tolerate girlfriends over wives. This is what we're dealing with. It's what we're dealing with. So, brother Michael L. Smith II, I don't know Shaka. Shaka Ka, I'm not sure what that means. But nevertheless, this is what the discussion is. So we'll move on to the last item or article that I have right here. And that is staying through non-poly haram fitna, but divorcing for halal. Now this goes into what Sister Abdullah Sumaya stated about the cheating versus the poly. They prefer the cheating over the poly, or they'll accept the cheating over the poly. They got brothers that have drug problems. They got brothers, there are brothers that have cheating problems. There are brothers that are stone cold Steve Austin alcoholics, which is a drug problem. There are brothers that are criminals selling drugs, hanging out on the corners, okay? So on and so forth. They got brothers that came home and say, babe, I got AIDS. Are you leaving me? Oh, well, babe, we'll work it out together. We'll work it out. I'm not leaving you. Even brother come home with AIDS, they don't leave him. You come home with another wife, halal, mubah, permissible, they will divorce you. What they say, six days to Sunday, they'll divorce you. You know, and this is a problem. They'll divorce you over that, but over the STDs and over the, and I'm not exaggerating, over the alcohol and drug abuse, over the cheating, so on and so forth, over the drug dealing and criminality, robbing, stealing. They won't divorce you, but they'll divorce you over something halal. So, in conclusion, if you are not having this prenuptial poly chat with your mate, with your wife, your potential wife, wifey will become the ops. I'm not saying if she agrees earlier, she may not disagree later. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that more than likely and definitely better and more preferable that you have the prenuptial poly chat. Because if a woman tells you, if you ever get another wife, I'm going to take the kids, I'm going to do this and that, let's have that discussion before we have kids. I lost one child because the woman said she was anti-polygyny, but she married me as a second wife. Oh, well, I thought the first wife was out of there. Nah, I'm not divorcing my kids. You know, these days you divorce your wife, it's like divorcing your kids. They'll use your kids against you. And I'm not willing to be separated from my children. I'm not willing to do that. Life is too short. I'm 51 years old, Life is too short. So I'm not being divorced from my children. I love my children. My children deserve me until Allah calls me. My children deserve me until Allah calls me. I'm not going to have a woman step in between that. I'm not going to do that. And I'm cool. I'm cool right now. So this is the issue within itself. This is the issue within itself. Drug abuse, drug dealing, which includes alcoholism with drug abuse. Alcohol is the worst drug ever. Coming home with AIDS, what have you, gang banging, criminality, all this stuff. I've seen sisters cheating. I've seen sisters stick around. And I've seen polygyny tear a household apart. Astaghfirullah Adim. So Sister Abdullah Sumaya says it's selfish and don't think about the kids. You don't have to be friends with your coco. It's possible to live separate lives. And this is the issue. Just as the finances are separate, you can separate the wives. Now, us men, we're idiots a lot of times. We think that because she says La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah and the other one says La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, that they can coexist within the same home. And I know brothers with this situation. They got 2 and 3 wives in the same home. One brother built a house on a hill, beautiful home, had 4 wives in that home. 4 wives in that home. It's not impossible. You shouldn't push for it. You should not push for it. You should not advocate for it. Let them naturally come together. Brothers have also experienced 2 wives in a house in a knife fight. Both of them had knives trying to kill one another, and the brother jumped in and the brother was stabbed. Okay? There are situations where one wife, a brother married another wife overseas. As soon as that overseas wife got here, the wife that was here, the American wife that was here, killed her, shot her to death. There has been street fights, and house fights and so on and so forth. So you shouldn't put these 2 people together. Look, from the sunnah, you shouldn't be asking where you been, where you going. It's really too masculine. Marry a man who you trust. And if you don't trust him, buy a dog, buy a cat, die alone. Because you're not going to find a man that you trust. You're going to find a man that's going to sell you fantasies that you agree with, that you like. That's what you're going to find. A man to sell you fantasies that you agree with and that you like. But you are not going to find a man that's going to answer to you like he's some broad. If you find a simp like that, maybe you marry Dwayne Wade or somebody, you know, because Dwayne Wade, we shouldn't even say simp anymore. We shouldn't even say beta anymore. We should just say Dwayne. Oh man, you a Dwayne. You know, you raise boys that act like girls, and you follow the lead of your wife. You don't even have leadership in your own home. You know, this is what we're dealing with right now. This is what we're dealing with. Exactly what we're dealing with. So, in conclusion, today's the day and the time that we don't have a lot of options. We're fighting for our deen. We're fighting. We're having juhud, struggling with our gaze. We are struggling with our nafs. Allah Ta'ala gave us a halal outlet, and you tell the husband to fast. Fasting is optional. Fasting is not a must. If I can marry another wife, why would I fast? Muhammad Sallallahu said, for those of you that don't have the means to marry, you should fast. Who are you to tell me I don't have the means to marry? Well, you don't have the means to marry because we're living off bare necessities. I'm fulfilling my duty to Allah Ta'ala with you. If you were a more gracious wife, you probably could get more. But you're not gracious. I'm supposed to just pour out my finances and go broke every month and have no savings or nothing because it displeases you that I may have enough for another wife. I'm not disclosing my finances. I'm going to fulfill all of your rights. I'm going to handle all my responsibilities. I am not going to be your wife, ma'am. I'm not going to be your wife, ma'am. I will be the husband. I will be the husband. The children need to see a balance. They don't need to see a masculine woman running a simpish man. The one with the deep voice, that's the one that should have the final say. By Allah, I'm not making that up. By Allah. Oh, you should seek counsel with your wife. You seek counsel. Yeah, you seek counsel. You take advice. But at the end of the day, you know, Allah Ta'ala says after you have decided. It goes back to after you have decided. It does not exist, Brother Michael. It does not exist. There's no hadith or Quran that says that a first wife chooses a second wife or a third wife or the fourth wife. There's no reference for that. There's not one reference for that. That's something they made up. And these third wave simpish sheikhs talking about you should at least get the first wife permission. When did Muhammad Sallam ever get a wife permission? When did he ever? He never did. He married 13 his whole life and had 9 at one time at the most because he was not limited by the 4. This is called khawasihi. This is exclusivity for the Rasul Muhammad Sallallahu. And there are many aspects of khawasihi. I don't want to get into them right now, but that's one of them. He was not limited to 4 wives. So nevertheless, it does not exist. There's no reference for it. We as Muslims need to get back to the Quran and the Sunnah. We are straying from it. And we men we have to dig our heels in the soil and take a firm stance that we will do as Allah Ta'ala has allowed us and has ordered us. And we will abstain from what Allah Ta'ala has, ordered us to abstain from. And the same with the women. But we cannot make up a deen as we go along that changes with the times. The sister says, my husband told us he will not just be with just one woman. So it was understood before marriage. I enjoy having the extra help, alhamdulillah. Oh, the children. You think you enjoy it? The children love it immensely unless the mother poisons the children. If the mother drops poison into the ears of the children, into the hearts of the children, then they won't enjoy it. They'll treat the second wife very harshly. But if the woman leaves it copacetic, she leaves it, according to Quran and Sunnah, then the children love co-wives. Believe me. I had there's a co-wife, she's back in Philly now. Not that one, but she's back in Philly now, this co-wife. My children still think about her today. They still talk about her today. You know, they miss her. They miss her. She took them to the water park. She took them to this place and that place, and they really enjoyed themselves while I was out working, trying to, gather finances, gather resources, gather, maintenance to pay the bills. While I was doing that, she kind of relieved me, especially during the summer times when the kids weren't at school, and she would do all of these things with the kids and make their life really, really enjoyable. And I really appreciated that. I really, really appreciated that. And it was my first wife that broke us up. Subhanallah. That's true to standard, true to form. So, alhamdulillah, your husband was upfront, mashallah. What are the rights of the woman? The rights of the woman to be maintained and protected, basically. Basically, to be maintained and protected. Maintenance is financial. Protection is putting her in a situation, where she is secure and healthy. Secure and healthy. Because, see, a lot of times, I mentioned in one comment, people thought I was picking on women again. It was that a lot of times they come in scarred from the previous relationship, and they expect you to be a therapist. They expect you to be the doctor to cure them of what the first person did, and that's not the reality. It's not going to happen like that, They will, let's say if this one man cheated 9 times, now, if you cheat once or she suspects you cheated once, that's called 10. Do the math. That's called 10. You don't get a do-over. There's no reset button. There's no reset button. If he cheated 9 times and she suspects you're cheating the 10th time, then what's going to happen? What's going to happen is that she's going to say, you cheated 10 times and you're the brand new dude. You still got the tags on. Your lights are still on, as they say, And that's called number 10 because they carry that baggage. That's why high body counts and experiences do affect your marriage. It affects your marriage. That's why Muhammad recommended we marry young, fruitful, fertile women, that we can play with them and they can play with us. Because and if a woman has a high body count and she has a lot of previous relationships, whether they were all marriage or not, you know what I'm saying? Better be all marriage, but if they were all marriages or not, that's second, third wife material. That means she's not out of the market. That means that destroys the whole Kevin Samuels argument. Polygyny does. It destroys his argument. But a woman still has to become agreeable, and she has to become accommodated, and she has to become kind. She still has to. So those are basic rights of woman, that she is maintained and protected, that her bare necessities are taken care of, and that she's protected. Those are her bare rights, her basic rights. The sister says jealousy can be controlled if you really love the person. Some are just selfish and ungrateful. They worry too much about the other wife. That's true. They become fixated on the other wife. They become fixated. The issue is, I don't mind jealousy. Jealousy can actually have a manifestation that is positive. It causes the women to compete with one another for your affections. It causes them to compete with one another in food and foot massages and this and that. It causes them to, in the bedroom, it causes them to compete with one another, in a positive way. But it's not the jealousy, it's the actions based on the jealousy. See, jealousy is an emotion. Okay, the actions based on that jealousy, if it leads to knife fights, if it leads to stabbing the husband, even if it leads to killing the co-wife, then this is what we're talking about. This is where things have become very, very extreme. And don't marry the ops. Don't marry the ops, but if you happen to be attracted to the ops, have that post or that prenuptial polygyny chat. Have that. Should I choose within my rights to have another wife, what would be your reaction? Because I'm not trying to go through fitna within my own home over something Allah allows me. What is your position? Well, I think I'm woman enough. Ya Allah. There's no statement more delusional than I'm woman enough. Yeah, you're talking about your vagina. You are objectifying yourself. You're talking about your vagina. I'm woman enough. What does that mean? What does woman enough mean? Muhammad said, if the son of Adam were given 2 valleys of gold, or 2 mountains of gold, he would look for a third, and nothing can satisfy him except the dust in his belly from his grave. What makes you enough? What makes you enough? Some men have low libido. Some men don't require, some men are so busy that they can't have this and that. They can't handle this and that. They are too busy. And some men don't want a bunch of children. Some men don't really, they're not they don't have an affinity for children like some other men do, so on and so forth. They don't really have an affinity for women like that. That one wife, one session of sex per week is enough for them. And some men have higher libido. Let us be. Let us be. Let us be. But stop with all that. I'm enough woman. I'm enough. And they say stuff that's really, really scary that they think it's cute. They'll say, my husband don't need 4 wives. I got 4 personalities. That's scary. That's scary. Okay. That's the personality that screams rape, and sends her husband to prison. Because the kuffar believe in marital rape. That's the personality that stabs her husband or stabs the co-wife. That's the personality that abuses the children because they look too much like the father that they hate, or that they despise or want to get back at. These are real life situations, folks. I'm not making it up. I'm not making it up. So when you say my husband don't need 4 wives, key, because I got 4 personalities, ha, 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 that's scary. That's actually a threat. That's scary. But nevertheless, you'll never see it. You'll never see it the man's way. And that's why we are only here for those women that are agreeable and accommodating. Those women that are agreeable and accommodating, that's what we're here for. That's all we're calling for, the book and the sunnah. Despite you say I'm a woman hater, I'm misogynist, I'm narcissistic, I'm all these other big words, I'm chauvinist, all these other big words. Besides you saying that, listen to the nature of what I'm saying. We're calling for the book and the sunnah. Will you not join us? Nevertheless, that's all that I have today. This has been Saad Imam for EXFACTLY. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.